Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Murphy, for your leadership of the caucus, the Republican caucus during these frustrating times. And thank you, caucus members, for being here. I know a lot of y'all have spent a lot of time working on these issues, and I appreciate it very much. I also want to thank the providers who we just met with, who actually do the work. It's, we make all the laws and we fund it, but at the end of the day, it takes providers, foster parents, those kind of things, and we've been meeting with them to try to see what we can do to improve the system. We took a lot of actions that I'm proud of, and I think a lot of the members are proud of in the 87th legislature. We made tremendous strides on addressing the trauma of unnecessary removals. Chair Click, Chair Kraus, Representative Hall, and others filed bills that we passed. And as those get implemented, that will help on the front end of the system. We also had Families First, which is a federal program that we have that implemented, and we have the bill got passed, and all of that is focused on keeping kids out of the system, keeping them in the home when it's possible. And so we're proud of that, and again, that requires implementation. We also passed an omnibus bill that Chair Colcourse filed that did a number of things. That's why it's called omnibus. And we also, importantly, fully funded the request of DFPS or CPS on appropriations. Unfortunately, there is still some areas of improvement in the agency, and that is the CWAP, the Children Without Placements. The main reason is over the last year and a half, despite the increased funding, we have lost over 1,000 placements to put kids, places to put kids, mostly of the high-end therapeutic beds for the high-needs kids. And so there's a lot of factors at play. It was COVID, that was the first start of it. Now there is a court order where it is making what's called heightened monitoring, is making it much more difficult and requiring a lot more people at these agencies. And so what the money that we're talking about doing is coming because there's additional funds that we now have that we can spend, and because frankly the heightened monitoring is put more and more pressure on the different people the different agencies that are taking care of our kids. And so that kind of explains a little bit of the background. I'm going to turn it over now to Representative Hall to talk more about it.
I'm Lacey Hull, representative out of the Houston area. I want to thank the stakeholders who participated in the caucus meeting we just had, as well as Chairman Frank for his continued leadership on this crucial issue. We do have an imminent capacity crisis, and we need to get to work addressing the shortfall of providers. It's unacceptable that we have record high numbers of children without placements, leaving these kids to bounce around and sleep under fluorescent lights in state offices. As a Texan, as a legislator, and most importantly a mom, my heart breaks for these children. The legislature has been dealing with this issue for years, and there's no easy solution, but the Republican Caucus is committed to working towards answers. The Human Services Committee was scheduled to meet last Tuesday, and I was looking forward to hearing from the department and providers about capacity issues. However, our committee hearing was forcibly canceled due to the Democrats' walkout. The Republican Caucus met with these providers today. It's clear that the legislature needs to act. While we have less children in foster care overall, we have more children without a placement, and we are seeing providers pull out of the system due to the increased cost of complying with the federal monitoring oversight. With the comptroller's increased biennial revenue estimate, we need to appropriate funds to maintain providers in the system, particularly for the placement of children with complex needs. Right now, of course, we're unable to take up and consider anything, despite the urgent need. The window to act is closing. We need to pass a supplemental appropriation through each chamber and have it signed by the governor and certified by the comptroller. These children, our most vulnerable Texans, are sleeping in offices, not plush Washington, D.C. hotels. The time to act is now. I believe that every member of the Texas House cares deeply about these children and this issue. It's time we all show up for these kids and return to work tackling these tough issues like we were elected to do.
Thank you, Representative Hall. Thank you, Chairman Frank. Just to echo what they said, this House has demonstrated our concern for children, did so in a wonderful bipartisan way, and has consistently. And now we have that same opportunity for a bipartisan success for these particular kids. The meetings we've had have really helped us understand this issue. Very importantly, while the state was projected a year ago to experience a significant budget shortfall, and we were very concerned, we went through that process, as we got our latest updated biennial revenue estimate, we have billions of dollars of additional funding that if we can get enough Democrats here to meet, we can put that money to its best possible use. One of those uses is going to be benefiting these children. We're grateful for those funds, but as you've heard, the time to act is now. There's a garage door closing here with this session, with all the steps that need to be taken. It's time for them to step up and come home. Leave D.C., be part of Texas. We did enjoy Whataburger today. They could get that. But more importantly, these kids need their help, and we call upon our colleagues to return. Let us get to work here for these kids in the Texas House. Happy to address any questions you might have.
Chairman, what are, what were some of the key takeaways from the meeting you just had? I mean, I know providers were talking, and some state agency groups were there. What was the thing that maybe surprised you the most? What's the key takeaway out of that meeting?
How hard it is for them to keep employees. And what I mean is Wes, we keep kids. We always focus on the children, but they have a 40% turnover. And so trying to hire and keep people working in very difficult conditions with challenging kids was one takeaway for me. We didn't have a debrief to go through that. I'm sure every member here, and they were all here, and there were a dozen providers in the room, had their own takeaways, but that was clear to me. The second is, as you heard Chairman Frank talk about, we have lost providers along the way. So it's a real problem, and it's gotten worse. The shame of it is we have the money to fix it. We just lack the people to do it.
What is the money specifically going to be used for? I mean, I know 91 million can go a long way, but how will it be implemented?
Yeah, my understanding is it's really to reduce the number of cases they're handling, so they have the ability to deal with these more difficult, more needy kids. And that's where we're trying to give them enough resources to take care of those kids that are more challenging. We heard about these children without placement, CWAP is a term I learned today. There's 415 of them that don't have a place to go. And we're trying to make sure we have the places to put them,
And so,
homes to put them.
And so the reason we couldn't get this done during the regular session is there wasn't enough money and
The money was not available then. And something to understand, and this is the unwritten story that's a background to this entire session, which is the Texas economy is really doing quite well. We're recovering. We've done the right things in Texas when it comes to the regulatory environment, the taxing environment. Businesses are responding. They're hiring people. They're producing tax revenues. Thank you. And now we have the ability to help with not just these children. This is what gives us money for the border. This is what gives us money for the 13th check for the teacher. This is what we've got the resources to do. And it's a wonderful blessing, but only if we put it to use.
And how much of this feels like a response to the lawsuits that are being handled through the court system, and how much of this feels like a genuine concern for the kids going through this process?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the court cases have caused an increase in the cost of delivering services, but the reality is when you go a year without having visitations because of COVID, you build up a huge amount of unmet need, and the transitions in the agencies also occurred in that same time frame. You might call it a perfect storm. It's one of those things. We're trying to do what we can on the things we know that are needed, which is why getting the Democrats here to put those additional resources to work is really the key.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. You talk about kids sleeping under lights, and could this be translated? This meeting be translated to kids along the border who are also separated from the parents and sleeping in those conditions also?
Absolutely. The kids that we're talking about are children without placement of the CWAPs. Some of those same people may go into that same system, and we want to make sure they get the care they need. So, good point. All right, thank you, everybody.